So today we are here with the one and only Brandi Jones. I am so excited to have this conversation. Thanks so much for being with us.
Well, Stacey, I am so glad to be here and so happy to meet your audience. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. So, we have so many fun things to talk about today. First, let's just start with you sharing a little bit about who you are and where you're located.
Yeah, well, hi, everybody. I'm in Nashville, and so you'll hear that in my accent. And I am a midterm operator with 116 units.
You go, girl.
So that's me in a nutshell.
116 units. I can't wait to peel back some of these layers. Talk to us about when you got started and what got you started in this world.
Yeah. Well, if you guys are anything like me, and Stacey, I know you probably are, landlords, small landlords. That's exactly who my parents were. They were small landlords with a couple of duplexes. And I remember getting up in the middle of the night to go unclog the toilet. And I unclogged enough toilets to know that I did not want that to be in my future. And so I have dabbled in short term, and then we didn't have a name for this midterm thing. It was called the 30-day stay. And I was like, I don't want to clean another toilet. I don't want to go to another toilet. And so I went over to the 30-day stay, which is now midterm. So
Mhm.
that's me and where I'm from in a quick nutshell.
I love it. And just to add another fun layer of trivia, correct me if I'm wrong, all of your units are rental arbitrage units. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, Stacy, that's right. I don't know. I was just saying a second ago, I don't know another way. And certainly didn't have the money to buy initially, but I knew that this was for me. Like a lot of you guys out there, you know that this is what you are doing and want to do. And so I was like, what is the least resistance to get into the business?
Mhm.
Arbitrage is the way for me.
And so, with that rental arbitrage operational model, you have primarily focused on smaller properties. Talk to me a little bit about your methodology or thinking through that, or was it at the time what was available? Tell me a little bit about that approach to begin with.
Yeah, that's a great question. I was sitting in the bed, and have you ever felt like you kind of don't know which way to go? I'm sure you have, of course, but I was in the bed one night and I didn't know that people were using apartments. I had never heard of corporate housing, but so I like to say that one bedrooms kind of fell in my lap, and I got up the courage, Stacy, to call an apartment complex here, and I had no idea what to say, but I knew that I wanted a one bedroom. It was all the money I had. I mean, I
Mhm,
couldn't
mhm,
yeah, so it's not like I could go very many places.
mhm.
So I knew like I was working with very little money. And so not that small units, not that you don't have to have a lot of money for them, but I certainly wanted to stretch.
Mhm.
I wanted to get in with the least resistance.
Right.
Did that answer your question? Like
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, so, basically, you started off with the smaller or one-bedroom units because it's what you had the resources for at the
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
and then I'm assuming that as you started actually operating, it became very profitable. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right. 100%. On the first booking, it became profitable. And well, Stacey, I do everything pretty fast. And so once they moved in, instead of taking the money and, buying a new pair of shoes, I called the complex back and said, can I have another?
Mm.
And probably within 2 months, I had five.
Go girl, that's awesome. So I want to talk with you a little bit about that initial conversation. And I'm sure when you were starting out, you're probably thinking, "Oh Lord, I'm going to sound like a fool when I call this landlord." How did you position it? What did you say to that landlord and how did they react to what
Yeah.
you had shared with them?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Stacey, it was the 100-pound phone. If the phone was so heavy. But you know what the difference, and I tell people this all the time, Stacey, I
Mhm.
decided that this was for me, and once I made the decision, like, there's this feeling of, "I'm going this way, I'm
Mhm.
all in, I'm doing the thing,"
Yep.
and so, yes, the phone was 100 pounds, but I made a decision, and
Yep.
so either the phone was gonna, fall out of my hand and burn up, or I was gonna make the call. So, really, after I decided, it still was a 100-pound phone, but thank goodness the road rose to meet me.
Mhm.
And I happened to get someone, I'll never forget her. Her name was Tia. But this is the power, Stacey, when you take one step, right? Like, something comes over and takes two. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
And Tia answered the phone and I said, "Hi." My voice was shaking. I certainly didn't have a script, but I had made a decision, and
Mhm.
I just thought that the person on the other line would meet me. And so I said, "Hi, I'm interested in a corporate lease." And this is still has become my script.
Mhm.
But I said, "Hi, I'm interested in a corporate lease on your one bedroom." That's it.
Huh.
And so, Stacey, a lot of people are taught to grovel when they talk to landlords or throw themselves or have this long script. And I actually am the opposite. I think that once you make a decision and then you go pro,
Mhm.
and most of us who've been in corporate America, most
Mhm.
businesses talk to businesses in the simple terms.
Yep.
Hey, this is what we need. Is it available? We'd like to move forward.
Amazing. And so also I'm curious about the location. So you are located in Nashville.
Yeah.
Were you identifying properties that were also in Nashville and right around the corner, or where from a geographical perspective did you focus on?
Yeah, so I had done enough research on YouTube to know that I needed to be close to thoroughways and hospitals, of course,
Mhm.
for nurses and also travelers. So I went to an area here in Nashville called Midtown,
Mhm.
and it's not downtown, but Midtown is where the locals go. Because people want to feel like they live in Nashville for a while.
Yeah.
They want to come to your city and they want to feel like, I'm not a tourist.
Mhm.
So I went to something called Midtown, and I don't really hang out in Midtown, but yeah. So that's geographically where I went first, and I'm still in Midtown.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about when you got that first unit, how long did it take you to set up? And from a budget perspective, what did you carve out to furnish the apartment?
Yeah, so not to beat the low resource horse, but you have to remember I was very low on resources, but this is the mind of when you make a decision.
Mhm.
And so I was like, let me go to Facebook Marketplace, but I still needed the resources of people helping
Mhm.
and like a moving crew. So
Mhm.
Stacey, in the very beginning, I went to court.com
Yep.
and cort.com. Shout out to Court.
There's
They've
an
been really
outlet
good.
store like 5 minutes from where I
Mhm.
live. My
Yeah,
husband just took me in there last week because my son
yes,
just moved out and we had,
yes,
we had stuff to buy. But yeah,
yes,
he loves court.
yes.
I mean, that's
So
a
this
strange
was
thing to say.
yes, yes, shout out to Court. Now, of course, we have more resources and
Mhm.
maybe you're listening out there and you have more resources and you can go to Facebook Marketplace, but I didn't.
Mhm.
But I made the decision and I went to court.com and I didn't do the outlet, Stacy, but they had where I could lease the furniture for just $99 a month. And so
Mhm.
I had the 99 and I
Mhm.
said, listen, can we lease the furniture? And so they came right out and court actually has white glove service. And so for $99 a month, Stacey, now I think it's 129. This was January 2021. So inflation has made them go up like $30. But it was everything I needed for the one bedroom apartment except for I opted out of the toaster and things like that. I bought that
Mhm,
myself.
mhm,
But
mhm.
it was truly white glove. They brung the bed, the headboard, the mattress, the box spring, and I was ready to go.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm so intrigued by this. And so within the last 3 years, you have been pounding the pavement, girlfriend. Talk to me a little bit about your growth trajectory. So you started out with 1 unit, you got to
Mhm.
5 within the first few months.
Mhm.
How quickly did we then scale to that 116 unit mark?
Very quickly. Stacey, I realized that this is a numbers game, and I'm sure you understand this
Mhm,
now with all of your expertise. So this is a numbers game. Certainly, it's different if you're buying, but the more units you can accumulate, then the more, of course, profit goes up. Now you're
mhm,
able to do that with a smaller unit. Some people talk about those larger units, but even if you're not arbitraging, I found that the sweet spot is a 3 bedroom instead of those big, large, expensive properties. So
mhm,
you don't have to do an apartment, you don't have to do a 1 bedroom. But if you are buying, as I know a lot of your listeners are, a 3 bedroom tends to be the sweet spot. Why do I say that, Stacey? Because it's a numbers game. And if you get 1 3 bedroom, you can get two. Or maybe you can buy 1 3 bedroom and arbitrage a second,
mhm,
right? Those are the ways that we quit our job, quit
mhm.
our 9 to 5. And so I realized that, like I said, I realized very quickly, probably on day one, that wait a minute, if I can share this, Stacey, is it okay if I
Mhm.
share one extra tip?
Go girl.
When I put the unit on Furnish Finder the day that it was approved. So when they said yes, they came back and they said, yes, your application looked great. Your corporate application looked great. I put it on Furnish Finder and was already receiving requests. I didn't just go out and get 3 more or 4 more because I think I had 5 in that first building. I didn't just go out and get 4 more. Every request that was coming in through Furnish Finder for that initial one, I was saying yes to.
Okay.
So if they weren't going to the first one, they were now going to the second one.
Yeah.
But I knew that they would look identical because I knew that I was using court on the second. Is that
Gotcha.
is that too deep, Stacey?
No, I love it. I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. And the other thing that I'm curious about, and you just, I think, dangled that carrot. Talk to me
Right.
about your approach to the number of units within a specific building. So,
Yes.
is there any sort of framework from your perspective that you should follow when you are looking at, okay, this apartment building is working out great.
Mhm.
Should I
Mhm.
have 5, 10,
Mhm.
15, 20
Mhm.
units, or should I mitigate my risk by only having a certain number?
Yes, you should certainly only have a certain number in a building, Stacy. Why? Because property management changes. These
Mhm,
buildings sell, and sometimes these leases don't always sell with them. Most of
mhm,
the times they do. But also for your audience who may be using property management for arbitrage on 3 bedrooms or on single
mhm,
homes,
mhm,
I wouldn't go above 5 with a property management company
mm,
because, again, things change. I
mhm,
wouldn't go all in on one particular property management company. We even saw where, even if the property management doesn't change, the people coming in, the leasing agents change.
mhm, mhm,
So I have a trick for that I've learned now,
mhm,
but I still stick to when it does change, we go in and we take them gifts and things like that to introduce ourselves, but we still don't
mhm.
go over 5.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And all of your units, you mentioned near thoroughfares, main
Yeah.
thoroughfares, and hospitals. Is there any recommendation you have when it comes to, and I know you said you went to Midtown, so how close is Midtown to downtown? Is there any approach that we need to think about with proximity to the downtown area?
100% Stacy, you're gonna Midtown in your area, everyone has a Midtown. It's not gonna be called Midtown, but everyone has one. So it's where the locals go. Where do the single men and women on a Friday night go to eat tacos and listen to live music? That's
Okay.
where people want to live. That's where people want to hang out. And we even advertise that you live here like a local, live like a local. And so, Stacey, I know you're in Ohio, but everyone, every city, every major city has
Mhm.
a midtown where the locals go to hang out.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. So it's not downtown because downtown, especially when I was first starting in using nurses or nurses were coming in, downtown was can be really noisy. So
Mm.
what it's not downtown, but it's midtown.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm also curious, you just mentioned every major city. From your perspective, do you feel like the corporate rental, midterm rental, and arbitrage model combined, it's kind of like a BOGO, buy one
Yes.
model, get
Yes.
one free.
Yes. Yes, it
But,
is.
with that combined approach, do you feel like there are any certain types of areas where this would excel, like a major metropolitan area specifically? Or could this also be a viable model in smaller urban cities?
That's a really good question. I always tell people that you're going to get more bookings, of course, in a major city because with the midterm model, people are staying longer. I
Mhm,
feel like you can get away with the rural model, certainly in beautiful areas where people come, once in a while.
mhm,
But midterm really hinges on people coming and staying. And if they're coming and staying, they need business there. And if
mhm.
it's business there, it's most of the time a metro area.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I am curious,
Okay.
do you have any thoughts about specific challenges that you've encountered? Can you walk us through maybe some of the hiccups and hurdles you've experienced along the way and how you've navigated those?
Oh gosh, where do I start? Certainly with any business model, with any business model, it has challenges. Let's see. Well, besides a nurse coming in and almost burning one of the apartments, she couldn't figure out the gas stove. And so, those things happen sometimes. But what are some challenges? Stacey, do you mean challenges on like scaling or challenges like every day?
You know what? Let's tackle both of them. Let's tackle the everyday first.
Okay.
What do you feel like one of your biggest challenges on a day-to-day basis might be?
Yeah. Yeah. Everyday challenges would be having someone to handle intake.
Mhm,
So people are making so many requests. One of the ways I handle that is with the VA. So I
mhm,
actually use onlinejobs.ph to find a VA. And
mhm,
they are incredible. I actually look for VAs who used to work for Airbnb as customer
mhm,
service reps
mm.
because you kind of can't beat that customer service training is already in them. And
Amen.
so, the quicker I have to train them, right? The quicker I have to train them and I can get them to help our guest, the better. So people are, requesting. And then of course they're requesting overnight and that flow system. So that's an everyday challenge.
Mhm.
And as
How
far as a
many
scaling
I
challenge,
I'm curious really quickly, I'm sorry to jump in. How many VAs do you have working on your team?
three,
3. Okay.
just three. Yes. And they're amazing. Stacy, initially we start off paying them $3 an hour.
Mhm,
And they really carry the business. They're eager. They're I mean, they kinda can tackle anything that comes up, anything that the guests can throw at them, which we know can be quite a few things. But what I love about working with people in the Philippines is they have a heart to serve.
amen. They
Um,
absolutely do.
with their heart to serve and part of our mission is to serve, it really works well.
That's
Really
awesome.
works well.
I was curious also about challenges with scaling. Talk to us a little bit about that.
The truth is, Stacy, I started saying, okay, well, if this building said yes, my confidence grew. My
Mhm,
belief expanded,
mhm.
like all I needed was that initial yes. And shout out to Tia. She said, they said yes. And it opened my eyes and I said, okay, well, I got one. Surely I can get two. So I looked
Yeah.
at every building as my next potential building. In
Mhm,
fact, I just called next door. The in Midtown, luckily
mhm,
there's a ton of apartments because everyone wants to live in Midtown.
mhm.
So I called next door and my voice wasn't as shaky, Stacy. And I said, hi. And it came out a little bit better. But so that's how we scaled. But of course, not every building takes corporate leases. And so one of the ways that I quickly pivoted, if you can kind of tell my story, I quickly pivot. But one
Mhm,
of the ways that I quickly pivoted was I used apartments.com.
mhm.
And on apartments.com, you can filter by corporate houses. And so these are the apartments that are saying, hey, we take corporate leasing, we take corporate. And so that's who I knew to hit next and next and next and next because they put themselves out there. Can
Gotcha.
I give your audience one more tip if they're thinking of apartments? Is that okay?
Go girl. Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
we all know Hello Landing, the conglomerate, the
Mhm,
amazing Hello Landing. And I realize that as huge as they are with 35,000 units across the US, that they've done the work for me. I don't have to do the work. And so wherever Hello Landing is, I typically follow. I'm like a little puppy. I follow Hello Landing. One
okay.
of the ways I do that is I go on Hello Landing, type in my city, and when it comes up, and I don't put in a date, but when it comes up and you can look at the map, Stacy, it shows you the address of that building. So if they have accepted Hello Landing, that means that they take corporate leases,
Yeah.
right? And
Shortcut that.
so
Yep.
yes, and so I just go wherever Hello Landing is. If Hello Landing happens to not be in your city, then you can Google corporate housing. Go
Mhm,
to those corporate housing websites and they'll always put their addresses
mhm,
of where they have apartments. And
mhm.
I just call those apartments as well.
Gotcha. Talk to me a little bit about your perspective on saturation, because if you are
Mhm.
following in the footsteps, if you will, of other folks doing
Mhm.
corporate housing, you've got
Right.
competition, right? In the same buildings. Now, for me, again, a lot of my portfolio is at the beach. It is
Mhm.
very resort driven. So I have
Mhm.
hundreds of competitors within one building alone. For me,
Yes.
I really focus on creating standout properties and having
Mhm.
standout service. I've got a whole standout approach. What do
Yes.
you focus on in your business that helps set you apart so folks are coming to your company to rent instead of Hello Landing, as an example?
Yeah. So the first thing is I'm letting the algorithm work for me,
Mhm,
right? Because the beautiful thing about the algorithm, Stacy, is that it gives everybody a little bit,
mhm,
right? But if they reach out to us, right? Because we kind of can't control I mean, I know there's tips to control the algorithm, but we kind of can't. My number one thing is customer service. We're responding to them within 10 minutes
mhm,
because studies have shown that people easily get decision fatigue.
mhm,
And so they're ready. Once they click on that and say, we're interested, we're responding in 10 minutes. That's another reason why our VAs are so incredible. We're
mhm,
responding within 10 minutes. And most of the time, a little bit, we've tracked the numbers, they go with us. A little bit over
mhm,
80% of the time. If they reach out to us, they're going with us.
mhm.
Because there's no telling how many people they've reached out to. So a fast response, you'd be surprised how a fast response will hook people in as well. That's the first way we stand out after they contact us. Another thing is with the way the wording, there's a heart, I know there's a sense of your search is over.
Yeah.
There's a sense of like, we'll take care of you. Do you understand what I'm saying, Stacey?
I
Like,
totally know what you're
there's,
saying.
yeah, it's written like,
You're appealing to their emotions.
100%.
Mhm.
100%.
I love that you have that approach because this is something that I try to instill in my students is that anyone can have a quote property listing on an OTA
Yes,
or on a direct booking
yes,
website. What we want is your
yes,
listing to be a magnet to your ideal guest.
yes,
And we can
yes.
create that magnet by appealing to their emotions as we're talking to
Yes,
them.
absolutely. One of the ways you appeal to their emotions is that sense of you found the one, that sense of stop your search, stop your
Mhm.
tracks, right? We all live in this world of attention. And
Mhm.
so we're doing everything we can to grab your attention. And we know this as well because people tell us, oh, you wouldn't believe it. I've been searching for 3 days. Nobody else got back to me. They
Wow.
tell you, Stacey, I'm sure yeah, I'm sure people tell you as well. They say, can you help us? And then it turns into thank you.
Mhm.
And they don't leave.
Yeah. Really interesting. I love that. I'm curious. So you market your properties on Furnish Finder. I'm assuming you're on Airbnb. Talk to me about how you're marketing your properties to guests.
Yeah, so Airbnb is for us just a marketing. It's just that
Mhm.
I understand that Airbnb for a midtermer is just there for marketing. We're not just on Furnish Finder. We're real corporate housing. I hate to say it like that, but so we use secret sites that Boeing can access us, and these large companies can say, hey, we have an executive coming to Nashville. We use sites for interns and the large universities. We list there as well. So we're not just on Furnish Finder, but with all of those sites, the number one thing, of course, on Airbnb, some stealth is required.
Mhm.
But we certainly want you to book direct on our
Mhm.
website. Of course, you have to be found on Google. Even though Airbnb is the market, it holds the market. You just can't depend on one. And so Google, being found on Google, we had an SEO specialist come in and rank us very high on Google. Those things are huge for us. We're midterm. We want to book direct. And so you'd be surprised how many construction companies and so many people find us on Google.
Gotta love the good old Google. No, that's great.
So
And
many
Google
people.
is, I think, often forgotten by a lot of people these days
Yes.
because Airbnb has become such a giant in the industry, but Google can
Mhm.
definitely be your best friend,
Don't
to say
forget
the
it.
least.
Don't forget Google. Especially if you're thinking of midterm, get you a Google listing. Get up there on Google. Get those 5-star reviews starting out the gate. Put your phone number on there. And then, with that profile photo, we're putting our logo clear so that they can find us. The email and the phone number is right at the top. That's what we're doing. We're drawing them in, and then we're pushing them toward our direct booking site.
Yeah. Next question I have is something that, I could only imagine with 116 units. The cleaners. Now, I think probably the good news is since they are midterm stays, the turnovers are not as frequent. But talk to us a little
No.
bit about your cleaning team, how many folks are on your cleaning team and how that schedule works.
Yeah. So, Stacey, as we've grown, knock on wood, we've had some of the same cleaners the entire time. And the one thing that I can say to your audience is overpay them. And I know that
Mhm,
that sounds crazy, but you don't have a company without a cleaner. And
mhm,
so we're paying them about $25 over. And
Mhm.
so, and because of that, Stacy, we're able to have an impact. In fact, one of our teams, because we have a couple of teams, but one of our teams has started her own company. Now she has company vehicles and pink shirts. Shout out to Emmy if you're listening. And so she's been able to hire and have a full-time staff because of our cleanings. So
Mhm.
what an impact, right?
For me, I will have a cleaner only really responsible for a handful of properties because at the
Absolutely.
beach, as you might imagine, there's a lot of turnover. I'm imagining that with a midterm approach and with all of your properties, or I shouldn't say all, but a portion of your properties in close proximity to one another,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you could operate with a scaled down cleaning team, not as
Mhm.
many cleaners required. So I was just curious about that makeup.
Yeah, so it comes out to 7 teams,
Okay.
and on that team, I'm not sure how many people they have on each team,
Sure. Sure.
but it comes out to be about 7 teams of them rotating, and they kinda pick their own buildings based on their schedule on days that they're not cleaning for us. So they have
Mhm.
buildings that they prefer and certainly buildings that they can kind of get in sooner, and they have all of these, things that they prefer, but it comes out to be about 7 teams of cleaners. And then
Gotcha.
there's one person that I talk to who's kind of the main,
Go
she
to
kind of
or
leads
point.
each team.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. I guess my last question of this section is what's next for you? Like you have gone obviously from 0 to 116 units in a very short order. I want to know what
Yeah.
you're working on next.
Well, Stacey, believe it or not, I am now venturing out to show people how to start their own arbitrage and how incredible midterm is. And certainly, you don't have to have a goal of 116. That wasn't even my goal.
Mhm.
But for people who want to go faster, not
Mm.
slower, that's what I'm doing now, and it is so much fun. People are booking and really having impact and freedom,
Yeah.
and it's been incredible. As for the company, we're gonna keep growing as long as they keep building buildings, we're gonna keep growing.
No, that's so fun, and
Yeah,
I can imagine, you're very much like me where when you have the opportunity, obviously, to make an impact for yourself,
yeah,
it is absolutely wonderful. When you
yeah.
have the opportunity to help others make an impact in their
Yes,
lives, it is
yes,
like the
yes,
most amazing
yes.
feeling, like,
It's
it
so
gives
good.
me goosebumps,
Stacey.
the warm and fuzzies, like, what does that do for you?
Stacey, I had no clue. Furnish Finder has a podcast,
Mhm.
and my podcast with them kind of went crazy, and people were emailing for 1 year saying, "Please mentor us, please mentor Brandy." They were calling the company, like, so I kind of was pushed into it. I had no idea that how much fun it would be and how their wins are my wins.
Mhm.
And now, a year later, people have quit their jobs and bought second homes. Like, are you serious? All from the arbitrage way because they can get started faster,
Yeah.
and and cash flow comes faster.
Mhm.
And who
Mhm.
doesn't love cash flow? Yeah.
Woohoo! I love me some cash flow.
Woohoo! Right. Who doesn't love cash flow? So it's
I
so
love
much
it.
fun.
That's
So
awesome.
much fun.
Okay, so I wanna move to what I call the lightning round, okay?
Yes.
I'm gonna
Yes.
ask you to answer with the very first thing that comes to mind. They'll be
Okay.
easy easy questions. First one is, where is your favorite place to vacation?
Oh my gosh. Destin.
So pretty. The water is just to die for
Yes.
down there. What's one place you've never been that you want to visit?
Kenya.
Now that's an
Kenya is one place.
interesting tell me about that.
I wanna go on a safari. And and I know that there are safaris here, but I want to go to Kenya. And I just love nature, and I want to touch giraffes, and I just want to go to Kenya.
That's amazing. Um, a couple of my team members actually live in South Africa, and they go on safari quite a bit, and some of the photos and
I'm so
videos they
jealous.
have sent me, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that looks so phenomenal." Yeah.
I know I may never come back, Stacey. I may never come back.
Okay, what's one thing you know now that you wished you knew when you were starting out?
That it's not hard. That 10x is easier than 2x.
Great advice. Great advice. I'm
So
assuming
easier.
you learned that from Mr. Grant Cardone.
I did. I did. That 10x is easier than 2x. Yes.
Love it. Okay, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
My grandmother, she would say, just keep living. I would be so anxious. And I told you about sitting in the bed and I was so scared. And her way, just keep living, was her way of saying, the time is going to go by anyways. Girl, you better get up and do something. Just
Mhm.
keep living.
That's great advice. Great
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
Last question, what's one thing and or person that you're grateful for today?
You. So
Oh,
grateful. So grateful to be here with you. And, our voice is so powerful. And to get to share a story, and just you're amazing. And I know that people are going to resonate with this so much about using what they have, whether they want to buy or arbitrage or go to the beach or be in a large city. Just know the impact that this is going to have. And if you wouldn't have decided to put yourself out there, we wouldn't be doing this today. So
oh.
I got some gratitude for you today.
Oh, well, I totally have goosebumps. Thank you so much. That's so sweet.
No problem.
So
No
sweet.
problem.
Brandy, if people want to learn more about you or find out more about how you might be able to help them, talk to us about where is the best place for folks to find you online.
Yeah, well, I'm Brandi Jones _Brandi Jones on Instagram, but also they should sign up for my free masterclass where I'm diving all into the midterm way, the arbitrage way, and they can sign up at midtermmillionaire.com.
I
So
love
that's
it.
midtermmillionaire.com.
So good. Brandy, thank you so much for being with
This was
us.
so fun, Stacey. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys. Can't wait to see the impact that you guys have. And Stacey, thank you. Thank you so much.